Act like you didn't hear her say that. All right.
Okay. Fundamental natural truths. Women are the first nurturers, producing and raising both male and female, who are destined to govern society. A nation of people cannot rise higher than its women. About family services, administrations, and you. A written analysis for mothers in regards to the kidnapping of their children by various employees of various corporations. As well, review the international definition of genocide to enable you to recognize when genocide is being perpetrated upon you and your children. 2 Peter's 2 and 3. It's kind of small. Hold on, I got it. And through what's that? Covetousness.
Yep.
Okay. And through covetousness shall they with fiend words make merchandise of you, whose judgment now of a long time lingereth not, and their damnation slumbereth not.
2 Peter's, so that was 2 Peter's chapter 2, verse 3. And that'll get tied in after we finish this.
Family services. Oh, okay.
See, this is crazy. All right. Try this again. Boom, there we go. All right. Should I need to blow it up or are you good?
I'm good.
Okay.
About family services, administrations, and you. Greetings of peace, sisters. If you go to the Return of the Matriarch page, you will see an article on what to do when family services knocks at your door. In it are case laws that will assist you in your lawful position. The thing is that society starts with family. Therefore, the authority to govern starts with family. And that would be you, the mother or matriarch of the family, who births all beings into existence and builds their temple body while in the womb, which means her womb is the first school. No denying that fact. This is, hold on.
Oh, my bad.
This is why inherent in natural law, international law maxims that the condition of the mother determines the condition of the child, and the child is as perfect as the mother. And what is good for the child is determined by the mother, not determined by any family services administration. The international community also supports, same in the published documents, Rights of Indigenous People, Part 2, Section 6, wherein it states with no uncertain terms that your children cannot be taken away from you under any pretext. That means for no reason at all, they cannot find one nor make up one. But then, of course, one would have to make claim to their indigenous status. Human trafficking is a crime of genocide. Clearly, these corporations feigning,
Basically faking or acting.
Okay. As legit governments are really violators of law and of humanity and are committing human trafficking and other manners of genocide. This is truth, no matter what the people wish to believe. So you have to first be knowledgeable of that and then be wise as a serpent and innocent as a dove and speak in an intelligent tone at all times. That is after you have made it clear for the record, spoken and written, that you are not a member of, nor do you domicile in any quasi-national domicile of which all states are. Thus, no contest, or at the very least, is it is a matter at law. Since they keep saying the law says, without you knowing the law, you believe whatever they say. If there is a controversy with you and the state or any state authorized administration, entity, association, corporation, etc., it must be heard at the Supreme Court level pursuant to Article 3 of the Constitution, Law of the Land, which is the section that regards judicial controversies that you're being versed with by them. It does not mean the state Supreme Court as they are, it does not mean the state Supreme Court as they are that in name only. I don't really get what I just read. Hold on. Okay. Clearly, they will not remove it. You must do so as a matter of judicial conduct and protocol. However, upon making your claim and or removing it, there is no contest. Why? They're violating the law of the land pursuant to that very Article 3, because they are to produce to you a delegation of authority order prior to commencing, asserting, or compelling any judicial authority, lest they have no authority to compel authority. It might be clear by now that all of these infractions of law and robberies of people's liberties and of their bodies is happening due to a lack of knowledge of people and are being done by corporations feigning as law upright government entities. However, the governed are the natural people, and the people are not government entities. Lawful government entities are established to protect, preserve, and secure the rights of the people. Thus, it ought be obvious to us when someone or some entity is not doing that. Administrators define government so how do you say that?
Succinctly.
Succinctly. Okay. Governments are corporations in as much as every government is an artificial person, an abstraction, a creature of the mind only. A government can deal only with artificial persons. The imaginary, having no reality or substance, cannot create or attain parity with the real. With the real.
And that's a case law, which you just read. That's a reference.
Okay.
Galloway versus Gomez.
State governments are the trustees with a derived authority for week 402.
Yeah, another case law.
So we must take our share of the blame for this and then restore it, redeem it. Try not to dance in their meeting rooms they call courts, because they are not courts. However, you see now why they operate from a position that you are chattel property or a ward of their estate. Wardship status, property of the state, thus are wards of the court, especially once you contract or give license to an attorney, as that means you are unable to speak for yourself. Speak for self. You are assumed as a corporation, or assumed as a corporate person with a minor mind. If you were in your proper person and properia persona, you would be able to speak for yourself. Otherwise, attorneys speak for you, and unfortunately, they present you in court under leave to the court.
Propria persona.
In propria persona, in one's own proper person, it is a rule in pleading that pleas to the jurisdiction of the court must be pled in propria persona, because if pled by attorney, they admit it. If pleaded by attorney, they admit the jurisdiction, as an attorney is an officer of the court, and he is presumed to plead after having obtained leave, which admits the jurisdiction. Laws P1, yeah.
That's a case law, and then the next sentence is another case law.
In some jurisdictions, however, this rule is no longer recognized. 1 CJ 255. Am I starting with really?
Yeah. Now, okay. Did I blow it up? Would I make it easy for the eyes?
Mm-hmm. No, look, I just struggle with reading sometimes. Okay.
Oh, okay. All right.
I don't read aloud. But yeah, okay.
Repetition.
Mm-hmm. Really that all breaks down to being able to honor your mothers and fathers by name and principles, thus showing you have reached identity achievement. Lack of that evidence, they practice human trafficking upon the people as if they are cargo property. All from lack of knowledge and lack of assertion and exercise of rights bestowed at birth. It is beyond clear that the people just don't know and suffer due to lack of knowledge, and that is it. That is all. Thus, studying is the key as well, or digging deep in your DNA and bringing bringing it forth in common sense, as common law is based on common sense and is international law. To be with common sense is to be with conscience. Con equals with, and science equals sense. First there was the word. If you are a national, then you are dealt with under international law. Well, there it is. A quasi-national court and a municipal court cannot adjudicate on international law or matters. So stand on what you know is right. Do not expect righteousness at any degree, nor honesty from them, as they are nowhere near that. All that matters to you is that they are not lawful and that you must be lawful. You must hold them to the law, as the law of the land was established to keep the natural people, particularly the Aboriginal and Indigenous people, who are the nationals, from being molested by other citizens. We have got to understand that, and then always act accordingly. Do not leave them to have any discretion with you and your children, as they want their bodies for inventory in their state numbers, which is a quasi-national domicile and not a national domicile. They also want them for all sorts of other reasons. You are of a national domicile, right? Then you are not a member, citizen of a quasi-national state. Thus, you domicile in your ancestral estate, national domicile, North America, and are an Aboriginal and Indigenous descendant tied to the land by birthright and I don't know what that says.
Primogeniture.
Primogeniture. You are not a member of any quasi-national state, as well. And very, very, very important, state governments are but trustees with a derived authority. That derived authority is the organic American National Constitution of 1790. And as mentioned prior, any government is a corporation, and corporations have no parity with the real. American, noun, an Aboriginal or one of the various copper-colored natives found on the American continent by the Europeans. The original application of the name. From Webster's.
1828. Okay.
As society originates with family, so does authority or government. Reference source of law.
John Bouvier.
John Bouvier's
That's a
concise encyclopedia.
An encyclopedia. That's what I was telling you about Queen Ra. The Bouviers. I remember I told you about that yesterday or whatnot. But go ahead, Carmisha.
As soon as any part of a person's conduct affects prejudicially the interest of others, society has jurisdiction over it. And that's from that same encyclopedia. The following is in part regards to the definition of genocide, as scribed from the international community, paying close attention to all of Article 2. But for this article to Article 2.
Subsection E.
Now I'm reading Article 1.
Yeah, but just Article 2, subsection E. And then what you're about to read, when you start with Article 1, this is you can look this up by Resolution 260, subsection 3. And this is adopted by the UN.
Okay, Article 1. The contracting parties confirm that genocide, whether committed in time of peace or in time of war, is a crime under international law, which they undertake to prevent and to punish. Article 2. In the present convention, genocide means any of the following acts committed with intent to destroy in a whole or in part. In part, a national, ethical, racial, or religious group as such. So would I say subsection A or just say A?
Subsection A.
Okay. Subsection A, killing members of the group. B, causing serious bodily harm, not harm, causing serious bodily or mental harm to members of the group. C, deliberately inflicting on the group conditions of life calculated to bring about its physical destruction in whole or in part. D, imposing measures intended to prevent births within the group. E, forcibly transferring children to of the group to another group.
And keep in mind, once again, this is a resolution 260, subsection 3. This is just ammunition, more ammunition that we just need to know like the back of our hand. So let me pull the next one up. All right.
Regarding man, wife, and love divine. When presented with the commonly presented can somebody help me? Not like read, but like that word. When presented with the commonly presented sectarian.
Yep.
Okay. Instructions or concepts about that, which has been called sin. Many natural people have misunderstood that adultery is or what it is not, and are confused as to what sin is and what it is not. Essentially, in the proper perspective, adultery and sin are applicable to the self when one goes outside of the moral and ethical parameters of divine law and principles. Those who lack clarity see their acts and perceptions only with their carnal eyes. In this state of condition, they are not capable to see spiritually the unseen or abstract nature of the philosophy that underpins the law. It is within the realm of that clearer conceptual philosophies and spiritual seeing that one realizes where divine love rests. Thus, absent of the instructions imparted by the true ancient philosophies, many who cannot see have not experienced love. Whew. In regards to the subject of marriage, or better said, in a more proper sense, obligations, we present a more honest and actual philosophical fact in view of ancient culture and of that culture as derived from a study of the divine laws of nature. Woman in many ancient cultures and
matrilineal
societies had and still have many husbands. Husband means householder and a frugal manager who manages prudently and economically. Husbands also serve to satisfy earthly carnal needs. This does not necessarily mean that she, woman, performs the sexual procreative act with them all, nor necessarily with any of her husbands. Corporal procreation is not to be confused with corporal recreation. Sisters, women, in honest reflection, have maintained this ancient practice even unto this day. A woman may have one husband who fixes the car, another one who fixes the appliances, etc.
Woo!
Right. Another one who assists financially, and then the one with whom she shares more intimate time with or goes out with socially. And ultimately, the husband she may choose to have sexual activity with in a procreative or recreative union. Women have maintained these kind of relationships from the beginnings of what we call of what we have called time, and usually call these husbands friends or good friends.
Before you continue, in the book, we're still in the process of going through called the Egyptian Sphinx, Queen Mu and the Egyptian Sphinx. It talks about Queen Mu, which was an empress. Her husband, Prince Ko, was a husband. What was it called? A husband maid or something like that. But when we looked it up, it's like one of her husbands. You know what I mean? She had many. So I'm gonna throw that out there, a little cross referencing.
However, culturally, these male friends are husbands, house binders, who provide and care for the home that she attends to. The domicile is very important for women, as the domicile is the root of their attentiveness and central to their labors. From home comes the children and the lessons of life bestowed upon them, positive and negative, as they are groomed and prepared to enter society and to partake in those matters that govern themselves and others. Just real quick, so they're saying like the husband takes care of the home
in certain instances.
True. Okay. Males, the sons of women, are domestics, and they bind the home. When a woman is virtuous and attends to her home, males are obliged to assist. Thus, male men and womb men become by nature obligated to serve each other and to bring balance to each other. Problems, however, often arise when a woman is not virtuous or when she is not happy. For what affects her affects the entire home, and whatever or whomever comes out of the home inside the world reflects in character or in nature, positively or negatively, in the outside world. We have, with respect to the very concepts or misconcepts that exist among the people of the world, including the following chapters, which are excerpts from the Secret Mysteries of the Secret Brotherhood of the East. These chapters express the ancient philosophies concerning marriage laws of man and wife from Allah. The Yeshua lesson adept regarding love divine. We have also presented a social and cultural contrast with an analysis of the modern marriage contract issued under the jurisdiction of the modern corporate states. Now we are well aware of the fact that the secret lessons not exposed to the masses by the high priestess and the status quo religious leadership, more often than not, their motives of veiling these lessons have been more for selfish reasons than they are willing to admit. These higher culture lessons are not necessarily familiar to the common people. This sociological anomaly is not accidental. For these high culture lessons are usually kept hidden by the elite, preserved mainly for themselves. The masses are generally held hostage to the rulers' multiple versions oriented mental social control psychologies. What did I just read? Um,
Basically, at the priests of like the modern religions hold, the high priest, they hold all this information to themselves for selfish reasons, like having multiple partners and stuff like that, multiple wives and husbands.
okay.
I think, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Nevertheless, the cosmo philosophies of the ancient ones are Gnostic keys to the metaphysical secrets of divine law and thus to divine love. The dispensation of the philosophies expressed for the neophyte is helpful information that needs to be shared with the natural people, as opposed to being hidden or veiled within allegorical stories or buried in secret societies or Masonic orders. Mason equals Ma and son, woman and her sons are all there is on the planet in human form, manifested from the spirit realm. Masonry is essentially Islam, and Islam, not ritualized, is cosmology. It is important for us to view the ancient philosophies for what they really are, cosmoscience, and examine these philosophies absent of our taught biases and prejudices. It is not true nor accurate for us to say that Masons, the fraternal order, are progenitors of this knowledge. The fact is that the high culture science used in Masonry is actually more science, which in itself is cosmology. Thus it important. Thus it is important, yeah, that we recognize ancient Moabite Moorish science is the science of the universe, cosmos, cosmology, and has been hidden and veiled in Masonry. The ancient science comes first. The secret societies and fraternal orders are secondary, modern, and serve as institutional vehicles for dispensing aspects of the ancient culture by degrees. Do not assume this relationship to be the other way around. It is also important for us to know that Masonry is not an institution of higher learning that belongs to, nor was its philosophy initiated by Europeans. It is in fact the high teachings of science and the workings of nature given to Europeans by the Moors by way of the Renaissance. During the 14th, 15th, and 16th centuries, the philosophies were given to Europeans to raise them from the dark ages of superstition, savagery, and ignorance, and into a new world of knowledge and high culture, which is referred to as light. I got a comment.
Mm-hmm. What is it? What's your comment?
Yeah, Beyonce on the horse.
She had a Moroccan flag or something?
Well, she did in like, I don't know, whatever video she did. But nah, she just recently, I don't know if it's recent, but it's new to me. She was posing on a horse. Like, I'm thinking the pale horse. Like from the book, Behold the Pale Horse.
Yeah, I read that too.
I saw something else, like the same picture. I think the name of it might be an album cover or something, but it's called The Renaissance or something like that.
All them people, they always gonna do something like that. Throw you a little truth and falsehood, strangely mixing their videos and stuff.
Yeah. Okay, Europeans have coveted these ancient teachings and have kept it away from us, the true descendants of those same Moors who compassionately raised them out of mental, social, and literary darkness. With this high culture science of the universe, the Europeans ruled the world. For a lack of knowledge and a false assumption that the high culture of European origin, many descendants of the Moors have thrown the baby out with the bathwater. Everything we do in the course of our lives is in its own nature a contract or a covenant. We bring the effects of law through the beings who come through the gates of the womb. This is expressed as the arc of the covenant, agreement to bring to transit the souls of men to the earth plane for their physical evolution and to experience their divine orders.
Now, Islam Amaru, Brother Amo, happy holy day.
Islam.
Mom, y'all, peace and love. What's good?
Islam. Now, any questions before we move on? Next.
Yeah, I got a question. So from what I was hearing, like, are they like, did they basically switch it around? You know, because you know how like Muslims, they try to say like they can have many wives. Are they saying that that's a thing that women were doing? They were having many husbands.
Yeah, in this piece we're talking about, yeah, the women having many husbands.
So that's something that they've always done.
Yeah, that's yeah. I don't know if you were in here when I brought up the book reference, Queen Moon, Egyptian Speaks. Were you here?
Nah.
When I bring that reference up? Okay, so yeah, in that book, this Brother Toledo got kicked out. Let me see. So in that book, it talks about Queen Mu and her husband, Prince Ko. She was the head of a caliphate and on American soil, and he was one of her husbands. I believe the word was called husband maid or something like that. I'll find the word. I got the book in front of me, but it's like two other books that make reference of like the heads of the matriarch having multiple husbands. But like we were just reading, they ain't having sex with all of them and all that. It wasn't even about that. Most of the time, you know what I mean? It was about
so it's like the word husband is kind of like the way we use it is different. Is that what you're trying to say?
What do you mean?
Like, I mean, because when I hear husband, I'm like, oh, okay, that's her husband. But it's like in my head, that's gonna be real hard for me to understand if my girl's like, yeah, I have a husband. It's like, oh, do you? Like,
yeah.
Like, what do you mean you have this other husband? Like, I don't get.
Well, that's because the societal norms are different today. So you're basing that on just because since you came out the womb and you've been seeing the world, you've been seeing it a certain way. So you're just not used to seeing that. But if we all were growing up in that time frame, we'll see that the world was different back then when the empire was intact and in the morals of the human beings were different. So today, if you see a male or a female with multiple, you see a male with multiple women, or you see a female with multiple men, somebody today look at that and be like, "Oh, what do you think he's trying to do?" You know what I'm saying? That's pretty much that's going to be the response based on society today. But more people were in their higher selves, when we was intact. So people realize that, women need help, and if they in their higher self and they running empires, because you know what I'm saying. When you talk about Queen Nanny of the Maroons, when you talk about Nefertiti, the list goes on. There's multiple women historically that show that there was an honor ran government. And think about it, if there's multiple kingdoms within the empire, that means
Right.
had jurisdiction over a lot of different things. You know what I'm saying?
That's right.
She needed manpower. The empresses needed manpower.
Not only that, but husband back then meant servant, and that wasn't a bad thing.
Right.
Yeah, see, that's what I was trying to say. Like, husband meant something totally different from what I think it means.
Oh, I see. Now, okay, I see what you just. Okay, I feel you now. Yeah.
Yeah, because I was stressed out right now. I'm like, dang, like I'm gonna have to deal with it. Like I was just like, woo, dang.
Nah,
It's a tough pill to swallow,
Family be
Nah.
like slaves.
nah, bro. Nah.
Right.
Nefertiti ruled a government, but her husband was Akhenaten. And that's one of the most prominent pharaohs
Right.
in history.
Okay.
He ran and destroyed a whole bunch of shit that other so-called Egyptians wasn't cool with.
Right. And it was on her command because she was the lawmaker. She gave the lawmaker to him, the enforcer. And that's how it was ran. You know what I'm saying?
Okay,
It
cool.
was a beautiful thing. Yeah.
Man.
I'm glad y'all saying it's beautiful because I agree.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
The truth is the truth.
Just from a woman's perspective, like we do need the support. I don't know about other women. Look, I get from my perspective, I be needing the support.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
We love when y'all give us something to do that's competent and it makes sense for our nation. It make us so happy to go out and do it for you. You know what I'm saying? Like, for real. That's your position. You're supposed to have that type of mindset where you master planning before I even wake up. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Yeah. 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 So, you can continue, Empress, if you gave you a little break just now. See how I gave you that break?
Mm-hmm. I be getting sleepy. It's late. Anyway, Yeshua reveals the marriage law of man and wife from Allah. The law forbids adultery, but in the eyes of the law, adultery is an overt act, the satisfaction of the sensuous self outside the marriage bonds. Now, marriage in the sight of the law is but a promise made by man and woman by the sanction of the priest to live together until death. No priest or officer has the power from Allah to bind two souls in wedded love. What is a marriage tie? I'm glad we're reading this. Okay. What is a marriage tie? It is not what the priest may say or do. There is but one true marriage, and Allah alone can perform this marriage. I'm on 4, right?
Yeah.
It is the love of Allah that finds its way into the two, man and woman's heart, and that is all ever to be. Your priest cannot cause this to be. It is the promise of the two that they will love each other until death. Is love a passion that is subject to the will of man? Can man pick up his love and as he would a gem and lay it down or give it out to anyone? Can love be bought and sold like sheep? Love is the power of Allah that binds two souls and makes them one. There is no power on earth that can dissolve this bond. The bodies may be forced apart by man or death for just a little time, but they will meet again. Now in this bond of Allah, we find the marriage tie. All other unions are but bonds of straw, and they who live in them commit adultery. But more than this, the man or woman who indulges lustful thoughts commits adultery. Whom Allah has joined together, man cannot part. Whom man has joined together, lie in sin. But lo, I say he who in the heart desire, but lo, I say that he who in the heart desires to possess that which is not his own is a thief in the sight of Allah. The thing which men see not with eyes of flesh are of more worth than the thing that men can see. Oh, okay. A good name is worth 1,000 times a mine of gold, and he who says a word or does a deed that injures or defames that name is a thief. Upon the table of the law, we read, "Thou shalt not covet anything." To covet is an all-consuming wish to have anything that is not right for anyone to have, and such wish in the spirit of the law is theft.
How are we feeling about that? Any questions on that? Pretty straightforward, or how are we feeling?
The language is different.
It different? It's different, huh?
Yeah. It's not how I talk.
So it's basically like marriage is an agreement between the people and God, right?
No, well, you know, God, you watch fundamentals, so I would imagine you know God means to invoke. So if you're talking about in that sense, yeah, between two invokers, but you know, between two humans, you know,
And the priest cannot bind two people, but only the two people can bind each other.
right, right. It doesn't take that.
Through love.
No need for a
love.
middleman. No need for the middleman. You know.
Yeah.
Because I was gonna say in our constitution it says a marriage license is an act of selling man and woman back to themselves, but just marriage by itself without the license is cool. But that's okay. I see what it's saying.
Right.
It's the marriage license that's the act of selling the license.
Right.
Okay.
And on a deeper level, just you know, they're saying marriage because, like I say, back to like what you were saying earlier, with why is Jesus mentioned in the circle 7 instead of Yahshua? And I'll let you know different Quran just actually says Yahshua. It's just the original actually says Jesus because that's where the prophet met the people where they was at. They know he was getting an influx of people out that Christian church. So once they heard Jesus, they could kind of get winged off and slow walk into the light. So they're using marriage in the same sense here. But when you look up the etymology of marriage, it's not favorable. Just in it, you know what I'm saying? But it's levels to this. Now, Queen Ra, I just looked in the text. You said you're confused about something?
I
No,
just
that was the literature before. Just
I gotta get better looking at the
no, it's okay. I'm like Carmisha. It's just a lot of. It's like when you used to be in the church, you read the Bible with all the ye, they, thou, and all that kind of stuff. I'm just trying to figure it all out. That's all. It's fine.
All
Did
right.
you see my response? I replied to you.
Let me cause see, like I don't have the text up because it'll block me from like my screen. So I just got like y'all faces and then the material. So sometimes I don't see it, the actual text. So it's better for me just to, you know, if I just say something like I got a question or put a
Well, I
hand.
do have a question.
Mhm.
So even though reading going over through all this, are we as a Moorish nation, do we practice polygamy or not? Because there's a lot of people saying that we do and not. Then there's literature that's saying that we do, but I know sometimes there's like a lot of literature that's not correct. So like, what is the?
I mean, it's in multiple books. Like I said, like
Okay.
you said, it's been documented that women have multiple husbands and
It's pretty much on the individual and what you interpret it as, I guess.
it's all about the heart chakra too. It's like what's the intent? That's what it all
Yeah, if it's true love, or if you're just operating out of lust, then that's when it's not okay.
Yeah.
So I don't have to be into polygamy.
All actions is measured by the intent. So it's not a bad thing.
It ain't none of my business.
That's why they weren't focused on sex when they referred to multiple men as their husband. It was, it was more about the character of the person and what the woman needs help with and stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's like
Like
if
sex
you
isn't the
if you're
main-
practicing polygamy just for the sole purpose of having like multiple women in a lustful way, then that would
that's
be
lower.
different. That would be different than like nah, I only deal with one on a sexual level, and then the other ones they do the laundry or whatever the case may be or something.
They're building the empire.
Yeah, well, I'm like they help out or in whatever you need, and vice versa as far as the women too. Is just that's kind of like
But
I'm trying
I
to
think
understand.
everything is circumstantial. At that time, yeah. Now it was different points in time where we was doing different shit. Everything don't call for everything we was doing in the past. Everything don't call for what we doing now. Certain things is going, whatever works, whatever basically, or whatever, floats your boat. But I just think it's just, however you feel about it, whatever you got going on. So based on your astrological chart, because people can say whatever they want about having this many wives or one wife or whatever, but if shit ain't working, if it don't align up with your astrological makeup, then that shit ain't gonna work.
Yeah,
So
because
a lot of
that's
that
not
got to do
lining
with
up
that.
with my makeup.
You got to know how you operate during relationships, what you like in relationships, what you don't like. You're not going to sit there and do nothing that you truly don't like and make yourself try to do it, no matter just based off of a
cultural standpoint.
ideology or whatever, or a cultural example. Exactly.
Right.
One
It has to be in
person said,
harmony.
one person said, get rid of being a worshiping all these gods and all this shit and worship the sun. The other people felt different. You're going to have that no matter how people want to make it. You're going to have other people that disagree. You're going to have other people that have their own opinion. But this shit is wrong.
Right.
Yeah, because that's why I was just like, dang, like, because I'm gonna go hard with it, but it's like, man, I don't know if I can get down with that.
I'm not doing laundry and shit while
like
somebody up in the house
like, and I'm not
the
saying
boots and
she
shit
can't
like
have
that. That ain't
friends and
happening.
all that.
I'm not no like like it sound cute, it sound cool, but that ain't happening. I'm not finna be doing somebody laundry and all that shit. And
yeah, that's a lot of grand rising.
That ain't me.
I'm saying,
Not happening. Nope.
Getting up. Hey,
Nope.
Grand Rising, everybody.
Oh no, who mad?
How we all doing?
Shit.
I sound like somebody who do a bunch of other people laundry and shit like that. I am not.
Yo.
No, it's not happening.
Oh,
Woo, I had to turn
Oh, I
on the
need it.
fan, man.
Right.
Doing laundry. I'm about to go look for some treasure or find something. Like, what you talking laundry?
That's deep.
That should be off GP. We clean our clothes. We clean people. That ain't finna be my job.
Yeah. But
Man, I love y'all. I love y'all.
But in summary, it all come back to what? Your intentions. Is it
Yeah.
a high vibration intentions or is it low vibration intentions?
And I don't intend to do no laundry. I intend.
Yeah, it's kind of like a
With
mental
government.
thing too, though, because the women they it's not always physical. It's like the same way today. Like you can marry someone and not be in love at all.
Right.
You can marry. You know what I'm saying? That's how you know it's not. That's not. You know what I mean? Something you want to do. You know what I mean?
Some
Then
people
you
look
gotta
at
get a
marriage like it's a
license.
business.
It is. It's like
Yeah.
it's a form of corporation y'all created together. So now when you under their rules. So when you get a divorce, that's why things turn out the way it do. And we all know, whoever make the most money is the one gonna pay somebody, right?
Right.
That's what they do. But you're gonna have to pay for the divorce your damn self. You're gonna have to pay for the marriage. You have to pay for the divorce. You feel me? So,
Damn.
but like even in the Circle 7 Quran, Prophet Noble Jew Ali said, you know, you can have a second wife if you can afford one.
Right.
You feel me? So,
You can't, if you can't, then
like,
don't try
so
to get
that
it.
means the woman is the one making the choice.
Right.
Like even today,
I
like what
don't
they say
share.
about us, all men are dogs, this is that, but they do settle, they pick one, you know what I mean? And then if they wanted to, they can have a man for everything they needed to be done.
They do.
That's happening already. That's
So
already
it's still
happening.
the same. It's just not.
Yeah.
They got
They
Pizza Hut.
got
They
dildos.
got all these different names disguised as somebody.
Right.
Man.
What Pizza Hut calling at 2:30 in the morning for it?
Right.
You want to
Hey,
deliver.
hey,
Delivering
man.
pizza at 2:30 in the AM.
It's too many distractions, bro.
Hey, I
got
did notice
porn,
that it
you got
said
dildos, you got
man and woman.
jelly and all that. It's too much.
Well,
Mailman.
I just want to, you know, be considerate
Yeah.
for Carmisha. I know it's 12 o'clock out there.
Oh yeah.
Close this out, or I can close it out.
Oh, my bad, sis. Right. Damn.
Like you want me to read some more?
I close it out. I close it out.
Okay, look, because we're gonna be here for a minute.
It's the last portion.
Woo.
All right.
Was he crying laughing?
Ooh.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Hey, that's some good energy, right? When we all in synchronicity and we all know who we are, man, that's high energy, boy. I can't help but laugh hard.
Yeah.
Okay.
Peace and love.
That's right, big bro. That's right.
So did you know what you got into when you utilized a marriage license from the state? You were tricked into signing your children over to the state. Children are the fruit of a marriage. Marriage License, The Real Truth by Virgil Cooper. Enlightening conversation with a marriage license bureau. About 15 years ago, my former wife of 26 years filed for a divorce. We had 7 children, 5 daughters and 2 sons. Our youngest at the time, our second son, was 5 years old. At that time, I prepared a counterclaim to the petition for dissolution that her attorney filed in domestic relations court. I met one afternoon with the head of the Maricopa County Superior Court Marriage License Bureau in downtown Phoenix. The Marriage License Bureau was headed by a young woman about age 25. I asked her to explain to me the general and statutory implications of the marriage license. She was very cooperative and called in an assistant. Now keep this colorable language. This is, I'm reading something from not a Moor, but it ties into what we're talking about. A tall Moorish man who at the time was working on operations manual for the internal department use. She deferred for the most technical explanations to her assistant. He walked through the technicalities of the marriage license as it operates in Arizona. He mentioned that marriage licensing is pretty much the same in other states, but there are differences. One significant difference he mentioned was that Arizona is one of the 8 Western states that are community property states. The other states are common law states, including Utah, with the exception of Louisiana, which is a Napoleonic code state. Napoleonic, the root word is Napoleon. Louisiana. King Louis, France, right? See the connection? I won't go into too deep into that. He then explained some of the technicalities of the marriage license. He said, first of all, the marriage license is a secular contract between the parties and the state. So it's a contract between the parties and the state, all right? The state is the principal party in that secular contract. The husband and wife are secondary or inferior parties. The secular contract is a 3-way contract between the state as principal and the husband and wife as the other 2 legs of the contract. He said, in the traditional sense, marriage is a covenant between the husband and wife and God. But in the secular contract with the state, reference to God is a dotted line and not officially considered included in the secular contract at all. He said, if the husband and wife wish to include God, he said, if the husband and wife wish to include God as a party in their marriage, that is a quote unquote dotted line, they will have to add in their own minds. The state's marriage license is strictly secular, he said. He said further that what he meant by the relationship to God being a dotted line, quote unquote, meant that the state regards any mention of God as irrelevant, even meaningless. In his description of the marriage license contract, the related one, other quote unquote dotted line, he said in the traditional religious context, marriage was a covenant between the husband and wife and God, with husband and wife joined as one. This is not the case in the secular realm of the state's marriage license contract. The state is the principal or dominant party. The husband and wife are merely contractually joined as business partners, not in any religious union. They may even be considered, he said, connected to each other by another dotted line, quote unquote. The picture he was trying to paint was that of a triangle with the state at the top and a solid line extending from the apex, the state down the left side to the husband, and a separate solid line extending down to the right to the wife. A quote unquote dotted line merely showing that they considered themselves to have entered into a religious union of some sort that is irrelevant to the state. He further mentioned that this religious overtone is recognized by the state by requiring that the marriage must be solemnized either by a state official or by a minister of religion that has been deputized or a deputy by the state to perform the marriage ceremony and make a return of the signed and executed marriage license to the state. Again, he emphasized that marriage is a strictly secular relationship so far as the state is concerned, and because it is looked upon as quote unquote privileged business enterprise, unquote. Various tax advantages and other political privileges have become attached to the marriage license contract that have nothing at all to do with marriage as a religious covenant or bond between God and a man and a woman. By way of reference, if you would like to read a legal treatise on marriage, one of the best is Principles of Community Property by William Defuniak. Principles of Community Property by William Defuniak. At the outset, he explains that community property law descends from Roman civil law through the Spanish Code 600 AD, written by the Spanish jurisconsults. In the civil law, the marriage is considered to be a for-profit venue or profit-making venture, even though it may never actually produce a profit in operation. And as the wife goes out to the local market to purchase foodstuffs and other supplies for the marriage household, she is replenishing the stocks of the business. To restate, in the civil law, the marriage is considered to be a business venture, that is, a for-profit business venture. Moreover, as children come into the marriage household, the business venture is considered to have borne fruit, quote unquote. Now back to the explanation by the Maricopa County Superior Court. Marriage Bureau Administration, now back to the explanation by the Maricopa County Superior Court Marriage Bureau Administrative Assistant. He went on to explain that every contract must have consideration. The state offers, now anybody don't know what consideration is in contract law, that means something of value. All contracts must have consideration. That's an element of a contract. Moving on, the state offers consideration in the form of the actual license itself. the piece of paper, the certificate of marriage. The other part of consideration by the state is, quote, the privilege to be regulated by statute, unquote. He added that this privilege to be regulated by statute includes all related statutes and all court cases as they are ruled on by the courts, and all statutes and regulations into the future in the years following the commencement of the marriage. He said in a way that marriage license contract is a dynamic or flexible, ever-changing contract as time goes along, even though the husband and wife didn't realize that. My thought on this is, can it really be considered a true contract as one becomes aware of the failure by the state to make full disclosure of the terms and conditions? A contract must be entered into knowingly, intelligently, intentionally, and with full informed consent. Otherwise, technically there is no contract. All this in red right here is contract law talk. I would advise everybody to look up contract law, elements of it. You can put in a Google search, what are the elements of a valid contract, etc. Continuing, another way to look at the marriage license contract with the state is a contract of adhesion, a contract between two desperate, unequal parties. Again, a flawed contract. Such a contract with the state is said to be a specific performance contract as to the privileges, duties, and responsibilities that attach. Consideration on the part of the husband and wife is the actual fee paid and the implied agreement to be subject to the state statutes, rules, and regulations in all court cases related to marriage law, family law, children, and property. He emphasized that this contractual consideration by the bride and groom places them in a definite and defined by law position inferior and subject to the state. He commenced that very few people realize this. He also said that it is very important to understand that children born to the marriage are considered by law as the contract bearing fruit, quote unquote, meaning the children primarily belong to the state, even though the law never comes out and says so in so many words. In this regard, children born to the contract are regarded as the contract bearing fruit. He said it is vitally important for parents to understand two doctrines that became established in the United States during the 1930s. The first is the doctrine of parens patriae. The second is the doctrine of loco parentis. So on your own time, look up these words. But we're going to do it now as well. Parent parte means literally the parent of the county, the parent of the country, I'm sorry, or to the state, more bluntly. The state is the undisclosed true parent. Along this line, a 1930s Arizona Supreme Court case states that parents have no property right in their children and have custody of their children doing good behavior at the sufferance of the state. This means that parents may raise their children and maintain custody of their children as long as they don't offend the state. But if they in some manner displease the state can step in at any time and exercise its superior status and take custody and control of its children. The parents are only conditional caretakers. Thus, the doctrine of and local appearances.
Power of the state.
What was that?
When they say the power is invested in me by the state of what, California, anybody? That's like the power that they have. They telling you when you get married.
Yeah, if anybody,
They say the powers that be, it's California.
Well, no, when they marry you, they say the by the power is invested in me by like the state of California. I now
Oh,
pronounce
okay.
you.
Right, right. Okay. I see what you're saying.
Oh, you're basically leasing your children. Oh, you don't even own it.
Well,
Yep.
we've already signed them over through a birth certificate as well. This is just another
Exactly.
concept on top of that, huh?
Right.
So this is why medical kidnapping is going on, because we got all signing of birth certificates and stuff like that.
Right.
And the CPS could get
Contract
involved
with
and all
them.
that.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I'll leave it at that.
I think he also added a few more.
Okay, he also added a few more technical details. The marriage license is an ongoing contractual relationship with the state. Technically, the marriage license is a business license, allowing the husband and wife in the name of the marriage to enter into contracts with third parties and contract mortgages and debts. They can get car loans, home mortgages, and installments, debts in the name of the marriage, because it is not only a secular enterprise, but it is looked upon by the state as a privileged business enterprise, as well as a for-profit business enterprise. The marriage contract acquires property throughout its existence and over time. It is hopped, increases in value. Small typo towards the end there. The marriage contract bears fruit by adding children. If sometime later the marriage fails and a divorce results, the contract continues in existence. The quote unquote divorce is merely a contractual dissolution or amendment of the terms and conditions of the contract. Jurisdiction of the state over the marriage, over the husband and wife, now separated, continues over all aspects of the marriage, over marital property and over children brought into the marriage. That is why family law and the domestic relations courts calls divorce, quote unquote, a dissolution of the marriage, because the contract continues in operation, but in amended or modified form. He also pointed out that the marriage license contract is one of the strongest, most binding contractual relationships the state has on people. At the end of our hour-long meeting, I somewhat humorously asked if other people had come in and asked the questions I was asking. The assistant replied, in the several years he had worked there, he was not aware of anyone else asking these questions. He added that he was very glad to see someone interested in the legal implications of the marriage license and the contractual relationship it creates with the state. His boss, the young man, Marriage Bureau Department head, stated, quote, "You have to understand that people who come in here to get a marriage license are in heat. The last thing they want to know is technical, legal, and statutory implications of the marriage license." I hope this is helpful information to anyone interested in getting more familiar with the contractual implications of the marriage license. The marriage license, as we know, it didn't come into existence until after the Civil War and didn't become standard practice in all the states until after 1900, becoming firmly established by 1920. In effect, the states or governments appropriated or usurped control of marriages in secular form, and in the process declared common law applicable to marriages abrogated. Essentially, The husband and wife became married to the state. Anything the two produced became the property and control of the state. Such contracts can be considered void due to non-full disclosure or can be terminated when full disclosure is realized. So that's
Okay. When they say like in heat,
right, like animals.
yeah, like that's why they tell you like no sex before marriage. And then people be in heat wanting to have sex so bad. They just want to get married so they can have this activity going
Mhm.
and not really think about the contracts that they're fucking getting themselves into.
Right. Right.
Like the game, it's just played on so many levels. It's ridiculous. Like the mind games of it.
Mhm.
Sometimes the woman knows and she's like, I'm just waiting. It's like, nah, just kidding.